Her story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil right.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Riff Worship, the Evergreen Edition. We recorded this just to have whenever we need it. So it could be anytime. It might not even be 2026 when you're seeing this, but how about that seasonal weather, huh? And
it's hella cold.
how about that thing that happened in pop culture? Wasn't that crazy?
Can you believe they voted in Sasquatch?
Austin, how have you? Well, I don't even know. Can we?
God, off the fucking rails already.
Probably no worse than they are now. I don't know.
No,
We'll see.
Yeah.
The only thing that is for sure, the only thing we know is that Dylan has a mysterious job that somehow involves horses. That's the only thing that we
It remains constant.
are sure of.
You know, it will remain constant, and no one will ever really know what it entails. We just know that horse is involved, and take it or leave it.
And it sucks. That's the
yeah.
Today, each of us are going to name maybe our 5 favorite punk records, or at least our 5 favorite punk records right now. This was an idea by Mr. Adams, Baldini himself. Dylan, can you tell us why we have to do this?
I think it just hit me. It's like, you know, I think we all like sludge music. I think grunge kind of falls in that category for us too. And I think punk falls in that category as well. Maybe we all like different avenues of punk. We like different things about punk, but it all is under that umbrella. I think what we all take from punk music might be very similar, which is you make your own rules and you kind of view things that way. And whatever you need to achieve, you got to achieve yourself, right? You got to do it yourself. And I think we take a lot of that from punk. And I think those ethos kind of molded all of us for who we are. And also punk has a really great spectrum of like different styles and musicians and all of this. And I think I think we can talk about that. One, you can do a lot with 3 chords, just like you can do a lot with 1 riff, and you can do a lot with, you can do every bit of this generally yourself. You can look at any punk band, whatever it may be, whoever it may be, and go, I can do that, right? I can pick that up. I can play those parts. I can learn that riff. I can learn that chord progression. I can do all of this. And I think a lot of us probably started with punk music, or at least had punk music adjacent in mind, and kind of went from there, right? No matter what the band was, or, we came back to it, or where we go from it. All of this to say, like, I think we all have an appreciation and an affinity for different eras of punk. And this is purely punk we're talking about at this point. And I know Austin and I had a bit of a conversation of like, all hardcore bands are kind of punk bands, but not all hardcore records are punk records.
I need rules. I need a clear.
Austin definitely went in different directions than I did. I just saw your list in the document.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of hard to like quantify, because I feel like you could be like, all right, punk. It's a sound. It's a particular style of music. It's also, I think, more of like a spiritual or maybe like ethical kind of way of navigating life, or just how you interact with different people in the world around you. But I don't know. I guess like we weren't going to pick our favorite hardcore records or favorite Metallica. Like I wasn't going to throw in Ringworm on this because I don't think it really fit the spirit of the idea for this episode. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a hard thing to really define. So I think we just kind of ran with it and picked some of our favorite records. They're probably not all the same. We might have some crossover here and there, but Baldini, why don't you pick one? Tell us what you picked first and why you picked it, and we'll maybe go from there.
So I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to go back to where it started for me. This is probably the most controversial one out of all of them because it's arguably one of the biggest records of the 90s and one of the biggest records of all time at this point. It's Green Day's Dookie. I'm a bass player. The first bass line I ever taught myself was Longview. 13, 14 years old, just sitting in my room, terrible tablature in front of me, just like going over and over and over this part. And I learned it. Between Mike Dirnt's playing, Billy Joe Armstrong's songwriting, and just the melodies, the fact that it's most of the songs are 3, maybe 4 chords. You can pick it up, but I also learned that, bass isn't just this underlying instrument. It can do these very creative flourishes and have this underlying kind of pulse throughout the song. It's essentially a counter melody to the vocal melody. And Mike Dirnt is no slouch on anything. I do think this record probably has his most prominent bass lines. I think throughout his career, he's done different styles of playing. And but this record in particular just holds a really, really soft spot for me. With tracks, as I mentioned, Longview, you've got Basket Case on here, which has this great rhythmic down picking kind of thing that's going on. That's one of the craziest rhythms I've ever tried to pick up myself from Billy Joe, with these points in time where like it's palm muted, it's not palm muted, and he's doing this while singing. Also, there's a B-side on the Dookie record called I think it's Jason Andrew Revelia. Probably butchering that name, but Jar, it's titled as. It's a B-side that should have been on the record, and it's one of the coolest songs that band's ever done. And contrary to what you think about this band or what they became, and which they became an arena band, this is an entryway into punk for so many people, myself included. I could have easily have picked like Blink-182's Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, picking that up at like 11 years old when it came out, but this came first. The fact that bass line, I can still pick up any instrument in the day and it's there. Like, no question. I don't even have to practice it. It's all there. Dirt's playing is in my playing to this day, with every little weird flourish, with every little tail, like it's all there. I learned the major scale by listening to Green Day records. I learned to play bass essentially by my fundamentals by this. And I'll say this now, I still think punk music has some of the best bass playing I've ever heard. There are great players. There are fantastic players all across the board. But for whatever reason, all the punk bass players, which there's going to be a lot that I list today, have this vibe of, we don't have to just do it to serve the song. We can have these parts that are cool and fun to play while also serving what is in front of us, right? I don't think these guys got in a room and went, the bass has to do this, drums have to do this. It was more so like, hey, these are cool. Let's kind of have fun doing these. This band's been around a very long time. This album has sold like 20 million records or some shit. It's a crazy huge record from the early 90s, but this record sticks with me to my core. The playing, the energy it's got, there's some great songs on there, great melodies, and overall great fucking bass playing, and that's why I chose it.
I love Godzilla 99, baby. Best.
What track was in Godzilla 99? Was it Hitchin' a Ride?
I don't remember. I thought it was
Get on with it.
Damn it. Oh, damn it.
Oh, is it Brain Stew?
I think it's Brain Stew. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Also on that, Insomniac, for those who have never listened to that record, it's a lot more aggressive than this record. That's a fucking great album.
It is Brain Stew.
I had a feeling they had it on lock. I don't want to talk about the other famous song from that. We can gloss right over that.
Oh, do you mean Wake Up by Rage Against the Machine?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do.
No, wait, it's one. No Shelter. No Shelter by Rage Against the Machine.
100% talking about Rage.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to like think of that band and like, you know, when really the first record that was hugely popular for me was American Idiot.
Sure.
So, you know, having like this band who had already spent like 10 years being very popular and then almost had this like second win through this. I mean, my fucking dad had that record. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Before I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like maybe in a different way, in a different era, that I would say those songs, you know, fundamental. But Swindle, I would love to ask you what punk means to you and maybe how that translates into your first pick.
I think the idea of punk is that we're like going against power and the establishment. I think the idea of punk is just anti-establishment in like whatever way that is. I think the people that like amongst the first bands that were doing punk rock were like, we are gonna make music to piss people off. Or like early hardcore bands kind of started the whole DIY ethic. They were like actively going against kind of like the musical establishment by like making their own labels and releasing their own records and like recording themselves and booking their own tours. I think I don't know really like what part of that idea really drew me to it, but whatever music media I was, you know, taken up at the time, like as Guitar World magazines or like VH1, whatever there was like, oh, like punk was like such an important genre and it has so much to say and it's like so political. So, but like at the time in like the early 2000s, the bands they're talking about are like still like the Sex Pistols and the Ramones and the Clash, which the Clash have a spot on my list and were very political. They were probably the least aggressive of those three bands, but like the other two bands largely were not. The Ramones were not political at all, and the Sex Pistols like were ostensibly not political. They just really wanted to piss people off. They didn't have like a set political ideal and stance. They weren't like we're fucking anti-fascist or whatever. They were just like, we want to make people mad and we're going to say whatever we need to. So I think I kind of got like the old switch and bait in as my way, as the bait and switch as my way into the genre, but it stuck with me. And my first pick actually is a Ramones pick. I'm going to go with Rocket to Russia. We made jokes off air for years, but like any Ramones record really, like, it doesn't matter what you pick. You're gonna get the same shit from like the first record to the records in the 90s. It's fast. The rhythms are steady. You got 8th note, 16th note rhythms all throughout the song, all through all the songs. It's all really catchy though.
Yeah. I
picked Rocket to Russia specifically because it's like a group of Ramones songs. There are a lot of songs on that record that I really like. I really started listening to the Ramones by like getting like the Greatest Hits live record because it had like a cover of the Spider-Man theme song.
Yeah.
And even after that, I got Loud Fast Ramones. So
I had the same one.
Yeah. So a lot of my Ramones fandom is just based on Greatest Hits CDs, but if you get the Greatest Hits Ramones CD, you're going to get like most of the ones that you need to hear.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think we've all talked about that same comp. It's certain at one point.
The first one I owned. Yep.
It was like 30 some odd songs on that, a career retrospective. And Swindle's right. Every song on there was the songs you needed to hear, right? Like it might have not have like Judy is a Punk on it or something like that, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's all there. The fundamentals are there. Even some of the later era tracks that you wouldn't necessarily think are on there. But the one story I really like about the Ramones that will always stick with me is when Johnny Ramone discovered alternate picking, and it shaved off 3 minutes off the set list. and everyone's just like, excuse me? They're like, it shaved. Do you guys realize it shaved 3 minutes off the set list? Same set list, just the entire time.
Cooking. I gotta.
Those poor drummers.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and I picked a Ramones record. This was like if someone says the word punk, I think oftentimes the thing that comes into my head is like 4 or so guys with like long hair grown over their fucking eyes, leather jackets, holes in their skinny jeans. So I think that the first band that I really equate that word with are the Ramones. I had that Loud Fast Ramones compilation. I listened to it like on my Walkman on the bus like every day for like ever. I think I've mentioned it like several times on this show. I think too, like you're a kid getting into guitar, you're often going to be like, getting those same Guitar World magazines, like who's the best, like Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. And it's like, I can't necessarily play like that. So it's like I think any art, it's very easy to get discouraged with like what you're doing because you're maybe constantly comparing yourself to just stuff that like took those people a long time to learn and perfect. But you can play just 3 chords, like anybody can do it. And so like I think a lot of me learning how to play guitar was with bands like the Ramones, like taught me timing, it taught me how to play with other people. It was perfect. So I had that compilation. The first couple records I had were Rock and Roll High School, the soundtrack, and Road to Ruin. That was like the first one I really owned. And like Swindle said, you really could pick any of them. It's fine. I think this one being the first one I had, and also just the collections of songs that are on it, I think they're just some of my favorites. I will say, I think there are like certain nuances with this one that you might not have found on like the previous records. This is kind of where they like throw in some of the more like acoustic ballad stuff, like Needles and Pins. I mean, there's even shit on there like they have like some like harmonized leads. Like if you listen to a song like Questionably, and it's like it's a long way back. There's some like weird like harmonized guitar. I was like, who are you? What are you doing? But it's cool stuff. So they do experiment a little bit. There's even like this really fucking weird percussion break on there that's just like, what sounds can we throw on here? It's on Bad Brain. It's the first record they had with Marky Ramone. Tommy Ramone produced a lot of their early records before he stopped being the drummer, but he also stuck around to produce this one too. So I don't know. There's like definitely, it's like the most straightforward catalog that you could ever listen to. Although there are just like some things here, surprises throughout. I think it's mainly the same songs done over and over again, maybe like a little bit better production as you go along. But I mean, I've listened to that Tales from the Ramones like in a drive. Yeah. It's great. I love it. It's pick a record. It doesn't matter, whatever. Like just listen to the Ramones. I think this is just a perfect foundational band to get into, and it opened me up to so much more.
I think a thing that I love about the Ramones having so much output the 20 years is I can every so often I'll go back and listen to the Ramones for like a bit, and I'll pick up a love for a different song or like a different set of songs that like before I never cared about or whatever. Like getting into the Ramones, it was like I Want to Be Sedated and Blitzkrieg Bop, and then I was like, oh shit, like the KKK took my baby away, and then like somebody put something in my drink, and then like later after I restarted watching wrestling again, I like realized that the Crusher was about like wrestling bears and shit like that. It's fun, always a fun band to go back to and be like, oh, like this is a song I never really paid attention to before.
The thing with the Ramones, you know, you hit the nail on the head, is that when you think of punk, you think of them. I think that's quintessentially it. You think of punk, you think of the leather jackets, you think of the haircuts, you think of, you know, CBGBs, right?
Yeah.
Playing those early shows. And that's kind of the foundation of punk, is 3 chords, fast, loud, Ramones. Right?
Right.
Said it backwards there.
Yeah. No, it's like they're all characters. Like they're yelling at each other on stage. Like they're singing about like the goofiest shit, but also it can be like it may not be like political necessarily, but you know, sometimes it's like, you know, here's like we're a happy family. It's just like, think of all of the imagery that comes from that goofy ass song, but then there's like 53rd and 3rd talking about like living on the street. And yeah, I mean, there's some like really kind of gutting, depressing shit that you could find in a Ramones song. But I think it's, you know, it's also just like fun. It's just like some of it's really upbeat and just like a good time, even if it's about, you know, cutting somebody potentially.
Speaking of political, my next pick is one that Swindle and I did an episode on. We flew old school on, was Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables. What a great fucking record. What a weird, strange band. This band stuck out to me for a lot of reasons. Tony Hawk Pro Skater is where it first came for me.
Police truck, baby.
Yeah, police truck. Jello's voice is so fucking strange and always has been. It's got this like it's almost got this like cabaret or like just silliness to it that fits so well. And maybe that's how my love of like Primus and all of these weirdos kind of came about, and learning how fucking political Jello is and how intense he is about it, and how like, this is what it is. This is what I believe in. I ain't fucking with it. I ain't backing up. But also learning that punk band, there seemed to be this thing about some of the early punk bands too, where maybe they had to hide how good they were as musicians, or it was like, oh yeah, we can't show that we're this good. And the guy in Klaus Fluoride and East Bay Ray were just like, fuck it. We've been playing for years. Like, let's fucking go for it. And the songs are catchy. And it's just weird shit. Like, I mean, there is stuff on here that is like borderline ambient noise, borderline like caterwauling. Like, I've always told my girlfriend one of my favorite songs on this album is Stealing People's Mail. Just because it's like, what's the silliest shit you could do that's still a crime? It's like stealing people's mail. I kill children, kill the poor. Like, come on. Everything is mixed so well and is so catchy on here. California Uber Alice is just it's a banger. Holiday in Cambodia being one of like the first songs ever heard by this band. I mentioned in that episode that one of the Guitar World magazines I had was doing probably a 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary of this record, and it came with some live footage on a CD-ROM, like you would have to put in your old, you know, desktop computer to watch, and it was them playing in this gnarly club, and Jello's got this weird bedazzled glove on and just fucking going for it, and it's just some of the weirdest, most nuanced music that you could find. And you know, Swindle and I talked about it, but this could arguably be either the last record of the original punk era or the first record of like the incoming hardcore era, right? Like that early wave, because it's still a punk record, but there's a little bit more aggression behind it and a little bit more intensity behind it.
It's fucking fast.
It's really fast. And I'd hate to not mention the tongue-in-cheek version of Viva Las Vegas is one of the funnest fucking things. Even like Jello's weird scream he does at the end, whee! Like at the end of that, like very Banjo-Kazooie-esque. Like, what a great record. I could go on for it. I could keep going on about it, but it's just a fun fucking record. Klaus has some great fucking bass lines on this record. He's really locked in with, I believe it's DH is the drummer on this record, if I remember right, or maybe DH joined right after. Just a fun fucking record. It's tied in with politics, obviously. Like there's all the great stories about Jello, like running for mayor and doing himself in this really guerrilla like warfare way.
Shaking babies and kissing hands. Is that what he?
That's it. And just lay it. And he's still like that. Any interviews, this man is 70 years old. In any of these interviews, you're like, he's still there. He's still fucking doing this dumb shit. And great record. Please, if you purchase this record, do not purchase the 2022 mix. It sucks. The original mix of this record is mixed so well. There's no reason to have this 2022 mix. I'm sure there's some weird shit going on with all of those guys because they all definitely get along. But what a fun fucking record. What a great punk record.
And on the back of that, my next pick is Plastic Surgery Disasters, which I think now, by the Dead Kennedys, but I think now always comes with the EP In God We Trust Inc. I think now you like cannot get the two separately. So it's just like one release now. I love those two records probably equally, Fresh Fruit and Plastic Surgery Disasters, but we, like you said, spent the episode covering Fresh Fruit, so I just picked the other one. But when I was listening to this record, doing house, like cleaning house, I was like just fucking belting out like all the lyrics to this fucking album. So I do have a deep, deep love for the songs on this record. I think Glenn Danzig was mad at Jello Biafra about the song Halloween.
God.
There's a song Halloween on this record that is like basically like you spend all year thinking about what you're going to dress up as for Halloween and like looking forward to this one night. Why don't you do it all the time?
Yeah.
And then it's like, you don't want people to think you're a freak is essentially like the song. And apparently Glenn Danzig like walked up to Jello Biafra and was like, you stole my song. You stole my shit.
Not Glenn. Not Sir Anzalone. No.
But a lot of the lyrics on this record are just like making fun of people. Of course, because it's Jello Biafra, and In God We Trust Inc. has a kind of figuring of California Uber Alice, but it's about Ronald Reagan. It's like kind of jazz clubby for the first half of it, and then it breaks into the like very, very fast version. And then of course there's like the classic Nazi punks Fuck Off.
Yeah.
What a fucking banger. And there's shit, I don't remember what the cover is at the end of In God We Trust Inc. There is another fucking weird cover. Maybe an Elvis song?
God.
Hold on.
Probably.
Rawhide.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're fucking Rawhide cover.
Did you guys ever listen to that country record he did with that other dude?
Jello to the country record? That would make sense.
It's pretty good. They do like they kind of like do like spoofs of songs. It's like there's like, will the fetus be aborted?
God.
Will the fetus be aborted? By
Mojo Nixon?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep. That's the
Listen
one.
to that
It's got
name.
like the big blocky letters kind of popping out, I think. It's like a red background. Is that right? You see it?
I just looked up, will the fetus be aborted, and found that.
Careful when you look that shit up. They might flag you now. That, hearing he did a country record is totally fitting. We did a Carcass episode at some point, and Jeff Walker in the mid to late 2000s did a country record of his own, and Jello's on it, I believe. And it's called Jeff Walker and the Undie Fluffers. And it's like you look at the track listing, it's insane. And it's very much it's British humor because there's no way it's serious, but it is like, it sounds like him on these country songs. But, you know, you look at all the tongue-in-cheek stuff that Jello does in his vocals and his lyrics and, you know, making fun of any and everybody. Everybody's a target.
The name of the record that Austin's talking about is Prairie Home Invasion, which is a reference to the NPR show Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah, he does. They do the Willis Brothers, Fred Kirby. There's a song to the tune of Nebraska by Bruce. I don't know. There's just like a lot of like really ridiculous shit, and so every time you've mentioned like a cover, I think back to that record. I'm like, oh, it's like a goofy ass fucking just classic Jello, take the piss out of everybody kind of thing.
We've come for your uncool niece.
So I, you know, with getting into like the Ramones and like I had like those records, and I was a really big fan of like some proto punk stuff like the Stooges and you know, those like kind of Detroit bands. I always felt like it was fun. Like I think it all had like an angst to it, and it was like certainly like rough around the edges, but I never really like considered it angry necessarily. I mean, there's certainly, I'm sure, anger behind a lot of that stuff, but I outwardly, like on the surface level, like it didn't really like make me like, oh, I'm pissed.
Energized.
It's not in that way, at least. So, you know, I don't exactly know how I'm sure it was just an organic thing getting into bands like Black Flag and Minor Threat. That was like clearly like, oh, this is like someone who is actually pissed off, and it's tapping into something that like these other records just don't. Because I mean, listen to the Ramones, it's punk music, but those guys clearly liked 45s from like the 50s and the 60s, and you know, they liked, I know they were like huge Black Sabbath fans and everything, but for the most part, it's kind of just rock and roll sped up. Whereas Minor Threat to me is like, holy fuck, this is like hardcore punk has like arrived. So I picked a compilation for the first two 7-inches, 84 Discord Records, features their first two like 7-inches from 81. I think not every song on here is good. There's one song that sucks.
There's one song definitely that you should not fucking play.
Yeah, it sucks. He knows it sucks. But for the most part, it is like all the fun of those Ramones songs. Like there's none of that there. This has a point. Right. They mean fucking business. There's a message. It is visceral. It is like the moment you turn it on, like filler, like it just jumps right into it. So hearing that, it had changed what music meant to me. And those songs are fucking fast. There's like a riff on every single one of them. Yeah. Filler. I don't want to hear it. Straight edge, screaming at a wall. I mean, in my eyes, like all of these songs, like there's, again, with the exception of one in particular, there's everything else is awesome. Like I can't exactly pick out one because every one of the other ones means something to me, I think. And just thinking about that era, those bands, and the influence, the ripple effects that it did to like just this form of music and just music history in general, like it just has like just such a ripple effect on everything from the bands that heard it. I mean, if we could even go like straight edge music, I mean, that wasn't their intention, but like that whole thing, Discord Records, those Discord bands that came after, the bands that they signed and helped record. So there's just so much that you could take from that. But as far as the music is concerned, this had like a really profound effect on me.
I have a fucking Minor Threat tattoo right here on my chest. Got the sheep. In my eyes, the Rage Against the Machine cover of it specifically is like what got me into punk. I didn't even had never once heard of Minor Threat and listened to that cover, and I was like, holy fuck, like I have to like find out where this came from, and I have to listen to this. So yeah, I've always had a deep love for that song in particular because it kind of like was my gateway into hardcore and kind of punk rock in general. But I fucking love Minor Threat, and even though the later shit from the like few years they existed. The Out of Step EP, those songs are really fucking good too.
You know, you look at that band and you look at Black Flag, right? Kind of when I think of hardcore, or like what is to come for hardcore, I think those are the two foundational bands, right? More so than anybody else, just because they created the DIY ethos, touring on your own, like doing all of this stuff, record labels, the whole nine. Like, to me, that's where it started. And, you know, there's two central figures there too. One is the brainchild of the entire project, everything, right?
Yeah.
One just happens to be that guy's best friend and ended up being one of the hardest working people in, I think, punk rock and hardcore. You know, that being Ian MacKaye and Henry Rollins. And I think it all kind of comes from there. You know, the importance of that band to punk music, to modern music, anything aggressive you hear, anything with a message is just understated. Also, this was not intentional. This is just a shirt I wear to fucking work. But it is funny to think about. It was really hard for me not to pick that compilation of everything, like, just for this. And like, there's some, you know, Minor Threat wasn't just a bunch of dudes getting in a room, like putting music together and with any lack of talent. Like, there's some talented dudes in that band. You know, we know about Ian, we know what came with Ghazi, but Brian Baker was in Minor Threat for a period of time too. And Brian Baker went on to be in Sam Hain and Bad Religion for a ton of years, and like fantastic guitar player. And like Ian is a fantastic songwriter and has like taken kind of a weird like Lennon McCartney-esque approach to punk music, and you guys know what I feel about the Beatles, but anyway. And I know the smirk is about something we talked about earlier, but none of that took place that I know of. Who knows?
We'll find out in the next few years out of nowhere, I'm sure.
We'll find out in the documentary.
If those walls of Discord records could talk.
God, but there's such an important band for punk and hardcore is Minor Threat. And it's understated. And I think you could hand that record or that collection of EPs and 7-inches to probably to any kid and go, fucking, you know, you've listened to the Ramones for years, start here. Here's where you get more aggressive.
Yeah.
You know,
it really could have been, you know, a couple Black Flag records, but
sure.
I felt like I wanted to lean into that just because, like, yeah, I remember going in the store and just seeing that cover of Ian's brother, his head
on the
bowed,
steps.
you know, yeah. So good stuff. But Dylan, you're next.
You know, it's funny that the last thing we discussed is somebody sitting on the steps, because the album I'm picking is one of the most important albums to my bass playing. Yet again, it shows tribute to the cover of that record. It is Rancid's 1995 classic, And Out Come the Wolves. This is after the huge punk explosion of 94 via bands such as Green Day, The Offspring, NOFX, all of those. When punk blew up again, Rancid seemed to be the more aggressive of those bands, for sure. Rancid has a lot of history in the punk and hardcore world. You know, Matt Freeman, who is, to me, the best bass player in punk rock. That man can do anything and everything. He's got a fantastic YouTube channel as well, Matt Freeman's Bass Bunker. But Matt Freeman was in Millions of Dead Cops for a period of time. He did a stint in Social Distortion. He was in Operation Ivy with Tim Armstrong of Rancid, and like very fundamental punk bands. And then you've got Lars Fredriksson, who is tied with so fucking much, and like kind of added this aggressive feel to this band, like a very Motorhead kind of rock and roll kind of vibe to it. And this record hit me a little bit later. I didn't buy it till much later, but the first thing I ever heard from this record was Ruby Soho. And I was at a buddy's house in like 2003, and we were watching MTV2 or something. And like, I saw this video. I wasn't familiar with the band, and I heard, for whatever reason, I could hear the bass cut through, and I went, okay, I'm piquing interest here. I got to take a look at this. And it's wild because Tim Armstrong's vocals are very like marbles in his mouth kind of thing. Like, you can't really understand what he's saying, but there's a message behind it. Rancid to me was always the Clash to maybe Green Day's The Ramones. There was a message. They definitely had a lot of like the ska and reggae kind of vibes and dub vibes that the Clash had, and they incorporated that in their records. But Rancid's and Out Come the Wolves is just song after song after song, hit after hit. Fantastic structure. Tracks like Ruby Soho, Time Bomb, Roots Radical, and 2 words, Maxwell Murder. Like the album starts out with a 1.5-minute long song, and at least 45 seconds of it's a fucking bass solo. And I mean, like, it's a bass solo. It's not just, hey, I got a scale. It's Matt Freeman just ripping this P bass apart and just going to town on it. And this album's 30 years old, and he's still ripping that same track every single time live. And the tones on these records are great. There's tracks on there that talk about Operation Ivy, that talk about punk in the East Bay. This band's got a few records that I really love. I always go back to the second self-titled record they did, which is like hardcore, like just crazy sounding shit. But this record always sticks out to me the most. The playability of it, the tunefulness of it, the songwriting of it. Classic fucking record.
My next pick is London Calling by The Clash. Not the most punk Clash record. That probably goes to the first record, the self-titled, but London Calling is one of my top 10 favorite records ever of all time. It's just, the songs are well written. They're not like super fucking crazy. It's kind of rock and roll songwriting structure. A lot of it even isn't necessarily the most stripped down. It's not like a one guitar, bass, drums, vocals like a Ramones. They have like a song with piano that's like just piano or mostly piano. They have like horns and all kinds of shit. But like there are songs that I will carry with me until the day that I die. Like the Card Cheat is one of my favorite songs ever in the history of music. Death or Glory is a fucking banger. The Guns of Brixton, fucking banger. Like I just cannot really put into words how much like I love the songs. And that's not even taking into track the fucking title track, London Calling, taking into account that song. Like there's so many songs in this record that I just like, again, when I was listening to this album doing house cleaning for this episode, I was just like yelling the fucking lyrics of this album too, just all over the fucking place. I love this record. I love The Clash. I don't love Sandinista because that shit's like an hour and 40 minutes long. But all the rest of the shit, even Combat Rock, I love that record too. I love The Clash.
So I kind of like made my last point on like, man, Minor Threat taking all the bullshit out of, punk, and it's just like, it's aggressive and it's got a message. This other band put the goofy back into hardcore. And
Man, they sure did.
The Descendents, Milo Goes to College from '82. I like this record just because I do feel like there is a lightheartedness to it.
Sure.
But it still kind of has that edge as well, that like that hardcore punk edge to it. I would call it like angry beach music, probably. But yeah, there's just like, a lot of melody and pop sensibilities that a lot of those 90s bands probably owe a lot to from this record and this band in general. But
come on.
Yeah. So, and maybe that took a little while to like, I think now it's kind of just, they're one of the best. They're the classic band. But yeah, I look at this record and just how important that is to me. I think honestly, maybe some of the best players in general
I was going to bring that up.
I mean, we're talking about bass. Like I think the bass on this record carries
it's great.
A lot of the songs on here. Like Tony Lombardo, unreal playing on this record. I mean, we're talking about Bill Stevenson, one of the best drummer. I mean, Black Flag and this band.
Not even just a good drummer, a good songwriter, a good fucking engineer, producer, you name it. He's kind of a jack of all trades. Like this record almost ended up on my list just purely out of catchiness and like proficiency. You know, the track I Want to Be a Bear is just so much fucking fun. Like you've got that, and then you've got a track like Myage or something along, you know, Suburban Home is on here. And like, those are all just really fun fucking songs. It's short too, short as shit.
Yeah. It's like 22 songs, or no, I'm sorry. It's like 15 songs in like 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's just, I like Dylan said, there's like it's like track after track. I don't think there's like a bad song on this record. Like Marriage, Hope, Bikeage, Suburban Home. I mean, anything. It's fun. It's like sometimes it's like about being on a boat and fishing, or like
Parents, why would
or like maybe it's about being heartbroken and just being a nerd and misunderstood. Like there's just a lot of those like kind of relatable, goofy lyrical themes on this record. But yeah, it sounds great. Like even now I feel like the production, like everything is coming through great for what it was, and like these like kind of teenagers or like 20-something-year-old kids putting this together. Although I think the guitar player was like the older guy in this band.
He's
I
a
don't
little
know.
older.
Like, yeah, he's a little, but maybe it's a basic pick, but I have a tattoo of it on my thigh. We used to cover Bikeage like all the time, to the point where Swindle would just get pissed off. What more can there be said? I think it's an amazing record.
I think if this record came out in 94, it would have been massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely would have, because it fits right into all of that, right? Like it fits right in between, Dookie and like, Punk and Drublick or something like that. Like it fits right in. Yeah.
And I mean, even, some of the bands I've talked about so far, like I think they all have great vocalists, but I do think Milo is like an actually, I like
singer.
the quality of his vocals. Like he's a good singer. Yeah.
His hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The man can write a hook, and it's that, I think that's another aspect of punk music is a hook, but it connects with you, right? It doesn't seem like it's ungraspable. It's songs that feel like they could be about anybody, right? It's something that everybody could relate with. Even on that record alone, like there's so much on there that anyone could relate with.
It's one after the other. I mean, like, the bass has like plenty of just memorable, melodic lines, but then, the guitar, there's riffs on here, but then it's also not like, it is kind of surfy. There's like a lot of different textures and a lot of like weird kind of, just additional layers that add. So it's maybe not even like the focal point of the thing. It's just kind of dancing around this like hooky, riffy bass line. So I don't know. Great record.
We did an episode on this band really early on. And I debated picking this as my number 2 because honorable mention, So Long and Thanks for All the Left Shoes, which is NOFX's 1997 release. I had to pick this because I went back and forth with this release and So Long and Thanks for All the Left Shoes because I love them both so much. But the decline just keeps coming back and coming back and coming back. It's a song. It's an 18-minute song. It's an EP unto itself. To me, it's the greatest punk rock song ever written. It's grandiose. It's magnificent. There's harmonies on top of harmonies. There's multiple parts. The lyricism on here is political in nature, but satirical as well. Fat Mike is kind of a wordsmith in a very dullard kind of way. The playing on this thing is second to none. There's bass lines aplenty. Smelly is a fantastic drummer and is just fucking laying it in. There's production all over this. The fact that it was a project that was written and played all within like an 8-hour studio session. It's just stellar. There are parts of this song that are stuck into my head every single day. Discovering NoFX at the early part of the pandemic was one of my favorite things I got to do, and got to explore all of that Fat Wreck kind of style music. I'm bummed I didn't catch on to this band earlier on in my kind of musical life. But this track, it's stellar. I think NoFX might even be, out of those early 90s bands, might even be the most consistent kind of across the board. Other bands had highs and lows with me when it came to enjoying it. I mean, The Decline is just perfection to me. It has everything about not just punk music, but music in general I love. It's got all these different parts. They did the whole like punk opera before Green Day could even invest time into it. It was almost 5 years prior to that. And seeing the political climate we are currently in, or may currently be in, because we don't know when this episode's going to drop. But seeing where we're at now and seeing where we were then, and it's still really topical. I get that it's a really long song to hear, but it doesn't feel that way. You listen to it like there's horns on it. There's all these great harmonies. And it might be the best NoFX song ever written. But man, what a fucking track. What a leviathan of a fucking track. It does make me think of some of the more, I guess, grandiose kind of metal tracks that I'm into. Hearts Alive, Orion, things like that. And the fact that these guys just set themselves apart by being themselves, which are, again, Mike is very prone to make fun of any and everyone. No one is safe. But he does it. And there are tracks in this band's career that I go, let's not do that. Let's leave that alone. But none of that was on here. This is like all gas, no brakes, just full on. The establishment fucking sucks. This is what happens. These are the decisions people have to make when they're in times of, when they're in rough times and hard times. And this is what can really happen. He's discussing guns. He's discussing, loss of income. He's discussing, losing everything, the prison system, just so on and so forth. I could gush about this fucking song. It is just perfection to me. NoFX at this point is retired. They're done. Never got a chance to see them. But the fact that I get to go back and I can listen to this, if I don't have it on list of like something to listen to new for that day, I'll just fucking put this thing on. Like I'll just put it on. It's like, fuck it. I got an 18-minute drive to Bowling Green. Fuck, that's not time to listen to a record, or we, invest time into the podcast and check out what we're working on. Like Decline's on. Like put it on. It'll get me to, Bowling Green and back. Man, it's perfection. Perfection to me.
Wasn't it like no parts repeat in the whole song? Isn't it like
that's right?
It just basically goes like A to Z?
I think so. If it's not repeating parts, it's the chords don't repeat.
Oh, okay.
I think it's all the chords are a different chord the entire time.
I think that was like, if I remember right, when we did that episode, I made a joke that it was like a Rainbow Connection because that song has like a million fucking chords in it.
Yeah,
right.
And there's the stomps at the end that come from Nevermind the Bollocks.
Yeah,
they sampled it.
One of the things that stuck out to me was Mike saying that like a lot of the parts from the record came from this thing where he was like, I'm going to write a different riff every day. And he just like recorded all the riffs that he had written in this amount of time. And like a lot of the riffs from The Decline came from this like period.
God. And it doesn't sound dated. There's so many great records that we all love that kind of sound dated, right? Like they're to a time, topical to that era. This is, I don't know if it was intentionally written that way. I'm sure it wasn't, but it's topical to any era. I mean, you look at, Mike flew his flag against the Bush administration with the war on terrorism in 2003 and all of his rock against the Bush comps that he did. And even you look, 20 years later, 25 years later, this thing is still as topical as it could be with the fat baby we have in office now.
Before I get to my next joint, like I think people say, and we've like interviewed people, or at least a person specifically that I can think of, that say like, if you write political music, you're like pigeonholing it to a specific time. I don't think, unless you're writing something like very fucking specific, like if your lyrics are like, on fucking December 11th, 2025, Donald Trump signed this into, like,
Sure.
unless you're writing something that fucking specific, like Bob Dylan songs are as fucking,
Sure. Pete Seeger.
yeah, like Woody Guthrie songs, Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
Pete Seeger songs, like all those songs are as relevant or more relevant today than they were in the 60s, the 30s, the 40s. Like, it's not hard to, if you're writing a song that's like either anti-establishment, you could like kind of make that mean whatever you want to. But if you make a song against fascism at this point, the further we get into the future, the more fascist it's going to be. So it's going to be more and more relevant the deeper we fucking go.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's another aspect of his lyricism I've always enjoyed, is it doesn't feel like it's dated to a period of time, right? He's very intelligent and intellectual when he comes to that, because he can just go, okay, let's put this in here, but let's make it rhyme. Let's make it have a melody too, so it's catchy. You know, one of my honorable mentions as well was Bad Religion Suffer, which Mike heard upon its release, and it completely changed his outlook on what NOFX should sound like and how it should sound. And he basically aped that style of that record for the first couple NOFX releases and kind of went from it. And if you look at Bad Religion, which is a fantastic fucking band, they're political in the same sense. It's everything is just, you know, it's not tied to any era. You know, God forbid, like Reagan's Youth had some like fantastic fucking songs, but like, it's Reagan's Youth. Like it's picked to that. It's almost like calling a band Nixon's Nose or something like that. Like we know Watergate scandal, whatever. Like you can do it in such a manner that it just is going to hit no matter when you release it or when you listen to it again.
All right, my next pick. I'm going to go with the self-titled record by Embrace. Embrace was Ian MacKay's band in between Fugazi, the later band, and Minor Threat. They only have this one record. This record is kind of, this band and Rites of Spring are kind of known as being like the first two emo bands. They are kind of like, Embrace is definitely influenced by hardcore. There's like the hardcore beat, and there are songs that are faster, but you can also hear like post-punk influence, like bass lines and very melodic guitar parts. I think most of the people in Embrace were also in Minor Threat. I think there was like some Ian documentary where he was like, surprisingly, if you like quit one band and then make a second band with all the same people, it's not going to work out. But you can kind of hear at the end of Minor Threat in the like Out of Step EP where they're like getting more melodic and slowing down a little, and that would lead directly into this record. But they're fucking political, like hard hitting fucking political songs, like Said Gun, it like about how stupid violence is, and like do not consider yourself free. There's a fucking hard line in that song, as long as there are others. You can sit cool behind your window and choose the view you want to see, but as long as someone's held captive, do not consider yourself free. There's Money, which is talking about fucking how lame it is that people only care about money and only want to talk about getting paid. A fucking banger record. I listened to it. I listened to it today for this for this episode, but I listened to it like a month ago at the gym, just like whispering all the lyrics of this song to no one.
Got to be careful. Got to be careful doing that in public now.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like to piggyback off of that, where maybe, punk is like splitting off into some different territory, experimenting with some different sounds. My next record, in my opinion, definitely does that. I think my picks after my first three are like could really have gone any sort of way. Is kind of difficult to like really lock down two other ones. But had to represent Kentucky. I'm gonna go with Slint Spiderland. I think if you want to call it a post rock record or noise rock record or whatever, you're probably right. But I think spiritually, I think this record is definitely a punk record. I just want to say at this point in time, if punk's like 20 years old, I think you kind of start to see it just exploring different territory, and it's kind of hard to maybe lock it down to one particular style. There's just so much going on at this point. But yeah, I think it's very like sparse and minimal. And I think, yeah, you could be fast and it could be like cutthroat, but I think this record proves that you can really just kind of do whatever. And I think there's something punk about that. It's very emotional and impactful. I don't know, like there's just so much I could say about it. We've talked about it with our good friend Dan from Selenoplexia at length. So definitely check out that record. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, just such a cathartic, meditative experience. It's very like well jammed out, but it doesn't feel like, all right, we rehearsed this. It feels very organic and like it could, I don't know. It just doesn't feel forced. It feels like a very natural record. And there's not really one particular song that I could pick out. Like, obviously like Breadcrumb Trail and, Washer or like Good Morning Captain. Those are all like great songs, but it's one of those records I think you just like have to sit down with and listen to from start to finish. Just overall great experience. And, I think also the thing that kind of doubles down the punk thing. I mean, like all those guys came from different punk bands, like Squirrel Bait being one of them, kind of feeding into that, which again is also hilarious to think like you listen to that band, I feel like is more kind of traditional, kind of a hardcore band. And then it's like this, and it's like, oh, this is, I mean, even the record Tweez before it,
yeah,
weird as shit. I don't know how that happened, but they just kind of got in a basement and started fucking around with all these different textures and sounds. And some of it's not entirely abrasive. I feel like there's a lot of like very clean kind of sparse moments, but then there's just like very like abrasive, like almost like dagger tones with some of that lead playing that David's doing. So yeah, I love this record. I think it's amazing.
And now it's down to my last one. Before that, I just want to mention a couple of honorable mentions that I did not mention. It was really hard to narrow this down to 5 for me because there's so many punk records that I do enjoy. And I'm sure even at this point, I'm forgetting some. But Black Flag Damaged could have been on here. Propaganda Failed States could have been on here. TSOL's Dance With Me could have been on here for me. A lot of punk records have shaped me, shaped my playing, shaped my writing, shaped how I am, shaped the things I'm into. But none has been more influential to me, to how I look at a lot of songwriting, for catchiness, for horror movies even, than The Misfits. And I'm going with technically their debut record, Static Age. This was finally released in 1996, 1997. It had been recorded with some studio time that they had earned via some sort of like under the table deal back in like 1978, I believe, 77, 78. I think if this thing had been released back then, who fucking knows what this band would have become. Because it has everything in it that would have fit during that era. You have catchy songwriting. You have really fucked up lyrics all over this album. You have songs that are going back to old Vincent Price films, Return to the Fly. But you've also got hit after hit after hit. I mean, Attitudes on here. We Are 138, Last Caress, Hollywood Babylon. One of my personal favorites, and I think Jackass for this, which is Hybrid Moments. I mean, you've got Glenn Danzig, arguably in his prime. You've got, Jerry Only, who is kind of left untethered on this record, and like his bass playing is catchy, it's distorted as hell, and like he's doing all this really weird shit that you wouldn't expect. This was like Misfits pre-Misfits image too. This is when they all still looked like, individuals. I think Jerry had blue hair at this time, was wearing a leather jacket. This is before the Devil Lock. Like, this is all sorts of shit. This era of the Misfits, the original Misfits, that like 77 to 82 era is my favorite punk band of all time. I look at the releases from them. My first thing I ever bought, as I mentioned, our Danzig episode, was Collection Volume 1. This is my favorite punk band of all time. The fact that it had all of the things I liked about extreme music, but also what I liked about any of the media I was digesting at the time, it's all here. It's, you find somebody that doesn't have like, you go to any underground show, you go to any extreme show, punk show, hardcore, whatever, there's probably somebody there with a Misfits patch, a tattoo with the Fiend skull. There's somebody there with that, just as much as like Black Flag bars, or, someone's got a Minor Threat shirt or anything like that. And you look at those early kind of, what would you call it? First wave hardcore kind of. This sounds like punk to me, but it's all tied together and it's all there. Like, to me, it's a perfect record. I've never had a chance to see the Misfits or the Danzig era Misfits, and I probably won't. I did have a chance to see the Jerry Only fronted Misfits at one point, and it was fun. It was just like, oh, this is all schlock, but it's fun. Like, it's just, sure, I get to hear all these songs played way too fast and like as loud as possible. And it's just fun. I like the borderline, like, cheesy 50 horrors vibe to them. Like, everything about it is fun. The fact that like you've just got catchy songs with fucked up lyrics, horror themed everything is just perfect.
I think like a chunk of it had like some of this material had like come out.
Oh
on,
yeah.
Like 7 inches and stuff like that. But
Tons of shit.
This almost ended up on my list too, because I mean, this collection of songs is just unbeatable, one after the other. I think there's really not a bad track on here ever. So yeah, definitely a good one. Ever. Not now, not never.
They keep changing the track listing, but none of them have been bad.
Right.
My last pick is going to be not a foundational love of mine. It's going to be a band that I actually met like in the punk scene when I would do house shows and shit. I'm going to pick the record Through the Head by the band Nona. They had a full length and a split and maybe a demo. I think I have a demo cassette. They were only around for a little bit. This person named Mimi was the guitar player and vocalist on this record, Through the Head. Pat Ware, from formerly of Sprainerd, played the drums. And Pat was an incredible drummer. He's fucking crazy. The songs are easy, so simple. But that's like what punk is a lot of the time. I think they're very simple, but the album keeps moving. They're not written in the same way as a Ramones song where it's like verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Like, there's only 2 parts in the song. But again, love that shit. But I'm not talking shit about it. But this album like moves along, and there are like key changes, and there are different ways that songs are written. They have different structures, so it keeps it interesting. I think Mimi's lyrics are really, I mean, a lot of the record kind of is nostalgic. In the lyrics, it's like a pining for a part of your life that's gone by that like you're not going to get back. Like, being a child or having childlike feelings or emotions, but there are also lyrics of the song that are like about very simple concepts, but like repeating a line so many times that you're like there's one of the lyrics is like, do you want a now and later? And it's like, I don't want one right now, but maybe later. Right now is good, not a good time, but she keeps repeating right now is not a good time to the point where you're like, this isn't about now and laters anymore, is it? Like this is a metaphor for something different. Or like there's a song about literally finding a quarter like a loose quarter in the couch, and she repeats the lyric like it won't get you very far until you're like, this is not about loose change. Like this is changed into a metaphor for something different. And I think that her lyric writing was like very good in that way, where a lot of the concepts were very simple, but would like you would pull a different meaning out of it, like out of such a simple concept. And I love that. And I love these songs for being so simple but still like keeping it very interesting. And I listen to this record all the fucking time. Like, not just once a year, like maybe sometimes not even just once a month. Like I listen to this record very, very fucking frequently.
I was kind of also thinking more contemporary with my last pick. I did have like a few that like just off the top of my head that like could have ended up on here. You know, Black Flag Damage, My War, Bad Brain self-titled, Fugazi, 13 Songs of Repeater, Static Age. You know, I even was thinking like Title Fight, Shed, or Floral Green. Hell, a little band from Bowling Green known as 16 Now It's Gone was a really important release for me, going to shows in Swindle's bedroom. But I'm about to go see The Armed, or maybe I already have. I don't know this episode.
No, you already have.
I already
definitely
have.
already
have. It was great. It was awesome. And so I was thinking, it's an episode we've already done, but it's very important to me. The Nothing Lasts EP by Punch, which very quick. I think I even described it, like in our episode, if this was like a set of a band, I think it would be absolutely perfect to just like watch a band perform these like handful of songs. But, again, to go completely against the last point I made of bands like kind of experimenting and utilizing different sounds. Sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to do anything like crazy new or like invent a new style. I think you can do what Minor Threat did or do what Black Flag did, but like as long as you have your own kind of like character and unique take on it, I think people will listen. And I think that's exactly why I keep coming back to this record in general, is that I love the lyrics. I think the sound of it is like it strikes a chord with me, much like those early records did. I think it's very critical. I think it's also very positive. It kind of inspires me to, get off my ass and do something whenever I listen to it. So yeah, I mean, it's very no nonsense, like no bullshit kind of record. It's fast, it's angry. And I think it's just like a perfect like burst of hardcore punk. And I think if you haven't checked it out, check out this EP, check out the record, check out any of their work. And that's my last pick.
It's not on any streaming platform, but it's a self-titled record which I think is their second, maybe their first after their demo. I like that record a lot, but Push Pull, their second full length, I fucking love that record. And I love this EP also. Time Apart, it's fucking one of my favorite songs. That like just pounding fucking bass drum, they like drop everything, the bass drum's pounding and Megan's just screaming like, I don't know how I let the bricks build up. Like that is so fucking crazy. And then like the very, very big driving ending of that song, What's Keeping Me Together is keeping me apart. I fucking love that joint. I love that, the whole band. And like very similar to the Ramones, you could pick any released by Punch, and you're like gonna experience Punch, and like it's all pretty equal footing as far as quality. Like there's not one record to me that's like better than or worse than the others, but whatever you pick to listen to, like you're gonna get the same feel of the band.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think there's really any debating that. I mean, it's just like the experience of it, and unfortunately, never got to see them live. But
yeah,
I'm just glad, people are still out there doing it, still playing, and these records are here to enjoy. So love it.
You said something very crucial regarding the Punch release, and it's that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. If something's good and there is a genuine emotion behind that, right? Like you're actually doing it because you want to do this. This is the art you want to make. People will latch on. They will figure that it's real. They will feel it, and they will latch on, and they will move with it. And I think one aspect of punk music is, it's real. You want it to be real, right? It doesn't have to be this new thing. Punk has such a wide spectrum, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, that it can cover everything from really catchy radio-friendly stuff to really just nuanced, avant-garde, dissonant sounding stuff, right? And it can be anything in between. It can be the most aggressive shit you've ever heard and kind of the most relaxing stuff you've ever heard too, right? And if it's real, people are going to latch onto it, which is with a lot of these bands we've picked up on and the records we've listed, like most of it was really straight from the hip stuff, right? There may have been a couple things like The Decline that had an intent and a purpose behind it to write it and why it needed to sound the way it did. But if it's real, people are going to latch on. And I think that's a common thread amongst all of these records is that it's real shit. We all listen to these albums because we can sense it's real. And if it ends up being bullshit, we can call it out pretty quickly. And that's why it came down to these records that it did, and some of our honorable mentions as well.
Make it weird. Just make it weird.
All right.
So that's it. That's
it.
5 records from each of us. Honorable mentions. So check us out. Check us out on social media at Riff Worship Pod. We got Instagram. We got Twitter. We might, if it's far enough in the future, there might be other social media platforms that we also have.
Think of those. Think of all the brain rot, as the kids say, that you could experience on them. I'm currently on Dan's app. That's what I'm on. The one-stop shop for all Danza fans, Tony Danza fans. That's where we're talking about Taxi. We're talking about Who's the Boss.
Right. I got nothing. I got fucking nothing.
So talk to Austin on Dan's app.
Follow Riff Worship Pod on Dan's app.
God.
Oh, I hate this joke.
If you want us to cover something, or if we got it all wrong, email us at, what's the email?
riffworshipod@gmail.com. Tell me about it. Just tell me about it, because I'm looking at it, and
tell us to eat shit. just tell us to all shut the fuck up and go back to our shitty fucking jobs that we all have. And God,
we got tales. We got Tales from Dilbozer's Crypt. Playlist.
Wow.
God.
All right. We'll be back next week, I think, with something else. Bye.